presentation for folks that are not able to get on this evening. Okay, so Path to Excellence training for club directors. This is the adventurer version. It's going to be super helpful if you have the director's packet in front of you. And if you don't have the director's packet in front of you, you can go to these web addresses, which I'm going to put in the chat box right now, and download it on a different screen so at least you can see it. So there, it's in the chat if you need to go get that real quick. Otherwise, I hope you have it in front of you. So we're going to start on page 25 in the director's packet, which looks like this. So the Path to Excellence is a few pages. It's page 25, 26, and 27. Page 25 is the like how-to of it, and then page 26 and 27 is the actual Path to Excellence accountability rubric. So we're going to start on page 25. So next we're going to go over the purpose, the scoring, and the awarding and insignia behind the Path to Excellence. So just a quick overview, the Path to Excellence was designed to help club directors to strive for excellence in their adventurer ministry. It was intended to replace the old monthly reporting system. So we don't have a monthly report system anymore, we have this. And this was developed by a committee of PAC members specifically for our conference. This is not an NAD initiative or anything, this is just for people in the Arkansas, Louisiana conference. This is intended to be a path to excellence, which means achieving higher levels may feel difficult at first. So don't feel like that it's going to be perfect or you have to be perfect right off, because it is a path. None of us can be perfect all the time or right away. All right, so here's a few things that the director should do for their Path to Excellence. First, you should review the Path to Excellence rubric often, probably about once a month. You should be looking at that. You should be marking things off of the rubric as you go along. So after you've completed something or after you have evidence that you've done some of those things, mark them off as you go so you don't get overwhelmed. You probably want to keep a folder or a binder filled with different pieces of evidence that show your accomplishments. And then once a year, either late spring, early summer, you're going to schedule an assessment with your area coordinator. So together, you and your area coordinator are going to decide your award level for Path to Excellence. And just remember to maintain your integrity as you consider which level of accomplishment that you have achieved. And this is just to assess the club director. This is not a whole club assessment. The whole club assessment is the annual review, which I think we used to call that the yearly inspection or something like that. So this is not that. There's two separate things. There's annual review. That's when the area coordinator comes to assess your club as a whole, and you show off all your kids and everything they've done. The Path to Excellence is just to assess the club director. That's it. Now, of course, your other staff members and things should be helping you accomplish the different things on this rubric, but it's just for the director. Okay, so the Path to Excellence is designed in three major parts. There's the accountability rubric, and that's the blue part you see on your screen. You see the blue outline. So the rubric as a whole is the Path to Excellence accountability rubric. And then within that rubric, there's categories and indicators. So the categories are what you see on your screen in red. So planning and finance is a category, membership is a category, programming is a category. And then the indicators are the things in yellow. Those are the things within the category that you will get assessed on individual things. So remember those terms, categories and indicators, as we go throughout our presentation today. So for your yearly scoring, like I said, together you and your area coordinator are going to decide which level you deserve for each indicator in each category. And you as the director should come prepared with evidence to show your accomplishments. So you kind of need to support or show like, yes, we did this, or yes, we did this. Here's a picture. Here's a Facebook post of us doing this, or here's the paper that we filled out, or something like that. That's why it's probably good to keep a binder or folder, or it could even be a digital binder or folder if that's up your creek. That's fine. So for each indicator on the rubric, you're going to get either a gold, a silver, or a bronze. And you can see on the screen here, this is the planning and finance category and the planning indicator. And then so you can either do this to get a bronze, do this middle one to get a silver, or do this far one on the edge to get a gold. So for each indicator, you'll get bronze, silver, or gold. And then for overall awarding, you're going to be signed a gold, silver, or bronze level director. So to get a gold, all of the indicators except 2 would be scored at gold. To get silver, all the indicators except 2 are scored at silver or above. And to get overall bronze, all the indicators except 2 would be scored at bronze or above. And the reason there's those except 2 part is kind of just to give you a little bit of breathing room. You're not going to necessarily be able to do everything, and we understand that. So we kind of give you a pass on 2 of them. Whichever 2 that is, it's up to you. So if something is just not feasible for you, or you just can't do it this year, then that's fine. You get a pass on 2. So for your insignia, a director is going to be issued a gold, silver, or bronze circular lapel pin that's engraved with the year. So if you get a bronze level, you're going to get a bronze colored circular lapel pin, and that can be worn on your uniform pocket for the year. After the awarding year is over, you want to move that pin onto your sash with the idea that you're going to get a new pin to replace that for the current year. And you'll also be awarded a certificate, which is what you see on your screen. It looks like that. And this is the gold level certificate. So you get 2 things, certificate and the pin. Now, when it's not COVID time, we typically give those awards out at Leadership Training Conference that we do in September. So we'll recognize you in front of the entire conference and present you with these things. Okay, now we're going to talk about the specific categories and indicators. So this would be a good time when you have your director's packet in front of you so that you can make notes as we go along. And also I want to remind you that if any questions are coming up, please put those in the chat and we'll be ready to answer those at the end. All right, so I'm going to open up my adventure director's packet. So there's an example here of how indicators would be scored. And I am on the wrong page. That's the annual review. There we go. Okay. So at the top here, it's got a place for your name, your club, and your year. I highly recommend that you print this out so that you can write on it and make notes and mark things off as you go. The first category is planning and finance, and there are 2 indicators in this category, planning and finance. So for planning, to get a bronze, you want to complete the yearly planning form. And if you want to make a note on yours, the yearly planning form is on page 29 in your director's packet. So we give you that form to fill out. If you hate that form, then use something else. If writing on a piece of notebook paper works better for you for planning, then fine, whatever. These forms are just in there, not mandatory, but just to help you. If they're not helping you, then by all means, use whatever is better for you. If you like to do your planning on the computer, then do that. So yeah, it doesn't have to be, but if you need a form, it's on page 29. So to get silver, in addition to completing the yearly form, you also have to meet biannually, so twice a year with your staff to plan. And if you want gold, in addition to that, you meet quarterly, so that would be 4 times a year. Now, your evidence for this when you have your assessment meeting would be your yearly planning forms or whatever paper you have that you did your planning on, and maybe a list of dates. We had our staff meetings on X date, Y date, Z date, whatever. And then for finance, we have a yearly budget form, which is on that same page 29 form. The yearly planning form also includes budgeting, so it's pretty much the same form. and it's meet biannually to review the budget or quarterly to review the budget. Now, you don't have to have separate meetings for planning and budgeting. It can be the same meeting. So you don't have to meet 8 times a year to get gold. You still just meet 4 times a year, but you discuss planning and budgeting at the same meeting. So don't make this any extra hard on yourself. Okay, the next category is membership. And in the membership category, there's 2 indicators, recruiting and retention. So for recruiting, to get bronze, you have a plan to recruit new members. So something written down that says, we're going to do X, Y, and Z to recruit new adventurers to our club this year. We're going to have this event, or I'm going to give out this flyer, or I'm going to get up front in church and say whatever. In addition, we want you to increase your membership by 10% in the year. So if you had 10 kids the year before, then we would want you to have 11 by the end of the year. And then for gold, it's increased by 25%. Now, if you had 10, that'd be 2.5 kids. Please do not cut any child in half. So, these numbers are not meant for us to nitpick you. So 2.5 would be like 2 or 3 kids. Okay, so we're not nitpicking numbers here. The idea is that you're out there recruiting and you're growing your club. Retention is for bronze, retain 75% of last year's eligible members. You had kids move away. They aren't eligible anymore. You had kids that have outgrown Pathfinders or Adventurers. Now they're in Pathfinders. They're not eligible anymore. So we're talking about you retaining 75% of your eligible members. So the kids that are still close enough to come and still the right age to come and so forth. And then for bronze, it's 80, or silver is 80%, and gold is 90%. And remember, don't cut children in half. We're talking, give or take a kid or 2. Okay, for programming, we have quite a few indicators in the programming category. So we're going to take these one at a time. Curriculum. So for bronze, each member participates in their class level. And you'll forgive me, I'm not super familiar with the adventurer class levels, but I think it's like Sunbeam, Eager Beaver, Helping Hand, Builder. That's what we're talking about. And then the percentage increases for each level. 70% and 90% for gold are completing their class level. So you would need to have some evidence or a list, X, Y, and Z kid completed their builder class for the year. Events is the next indicator. So to get a bronze, you have to participate in an Adventure Fun Day. Now, we know with COVID, events are hard right now. So if there is no Adventure Fun Day event, then it would be just like that indicator didn't exist. That wouldn't count as one of your 2 that you get scored on. So keep in mind, we're being lenient because of COVID. We know things aren't going on. So for silver, it's participate in Adventure Family Camp. And then for gold is both things, Family Camp and Fun Day. And I think the reasoning behind that is Fun Day is like a day-long thing, and then Family Camp is like a weekend, so that would bump that up a little bit, and then both would be gold. Once again, if those are events are virtual events, then of course you would want to participate those and continue to keep that indicator. But if those events aren't offered, then just never mind, like pretend they're not there. Okay, next indicator is awards. So to get silver, you have to offer 8 different awards during the year. Bronze is 10, and gold is 12. So that would, for gold, that would be like offering 1 award per month. And I think Adventures is like Pathfinders in that awards are done also as part of their classes, and you can count those too. It doesn't have to be an award all by itself. It can be part of things you do during classes too, as long as it's an award. Okay, outdoor family activities indicator. An activity scheduled yearly is bronze, twice a year, silver, and quarterly, so 4 times a year, is gold. And you know what, I wouldn't make this hard on myself. If you were going to Adventure Family Camp, to me, that's an outdoor family activity. So you could kill 2 birds with 1 stone there. You could get your event indicator for family camp and also your outdoor family activity in the same thing. So if you can pile some of these up, go for it. Service projects that benefit both the local church and the community. Once a year is bronze, twice a year silver, 3 times a year gold. And once again, if you do a service project while you're at Adventurer Family Camp, then count that. Being involved in your local church biannually, so twice a year, and then versus quarterly versus monthly is gold. And we're talking like an adventurer or two help take up the offering, or I'm mostly familiar with what Pathfinders do in church. I'm not so much about adventurers. Maybe they help be a greeter or something like that. And it doesn't have to be necessarily your entire club helping in church. It could be 4 or 5 kids helping with offering, or somebody saying the prayer or something like that, as long as you're keeping your kids in front of the church. Supporting other clubs, being involved yearly, biannually, or quarterly with another club. And once again, you can pile those up. If you're attending an event or even a virtual event where other clubs are involved, then count that. Okay, the next category is staff, and there are 2 indicators in staff: supervision and training. So in the supervision, it mostly deals with the ratio that you have of staff to kids. And this comes straight from Adventist Risk Management. Adventist Risk Management recommends in a perfect world that you have a ratio of 1 to 4, 1 staff for every 4 kids with both genders represented. So if you do that, that's gold. And then the ratio goes down a little bit or goes up a little bit if you do bronze or silver. Bronze is a ratio of 1 to 6 with both genders represented. Now I realize that getting these ratios perfect, that's not what we're after. What we're looking for is that you have an adequate number of staff with the amount of kids that you have and both genders being represented. And I know that's a little bit different with adventurers because parents, I know, have to be involved a lot. So use your parents as your staff members. Make sure they have their Sterling volunteer background checks and everything, and they filled out the paperwork, and then use those to help increase your staff ratios. For training, 75% of your staff have completed a training course throughout the year. And then for silver, it's 2 training courses, and for gold, it's 2 training courses and master guide. So, and that's just 75% all the way across. So 3/4 of your staff. And this doesn't have to be like a formal training course. There's a lot of training courses online now on YouTube that can be done, or maybe this is some training thing you do for your own staff. It doesn't necessarily have to be provided by the conference, or it could even be self-study. So that's totally fine. The last category is accountability, and there are 5 indicators here. So the first one is risk management, and that's that all of your staff have completed their volunteer paperwork, and that is on page 5 in your director's packet. The volunteer staff application is on page 5. They all have their verified volunteers, and they all have their car insurance on file as applicable. And doing that is required to attain a medal at any level. And that could not be one of your 2. So if you don't have that, that means you can't get an award at any level. And the PAC and committee that wrote this decided that that's a non-negotiable, is that we have those background checks done and those papers filed with the conference. We just have to do that now for safety for our kids. And also another non-negotiable is that your club has their yearly application submitted to the conference, and that is on page 3 of your director's packet. That means that you've submitted that yearly application, it's voted by your church board, it's signed by all those people, and you've paid your $10 per person fee to the conference. Okay, next one is inspection. We now call inspection the annual review, and the annual review for adventurers is on page 22 in your director's packet. So the annual review is the time when your area coordinator comes to your club and inspects your club as a whole. That's the time when everybody dresses up in their formal uniform and shows off everything they've done. and looks all smart and perfect. So that's what we're talking about for here. And the annual review is also scored on a bronze, silver, or gold level, just like this is. So if you get a bronze in annual review, then that's a bronze on here. You get a silver on your annual review, silver on here, so forth. You get a gold on annual review, then it counts for gold on here. And then record articles, you have to submit one to get bronze. Submitting more than one, silver, and having one published would be gold. And I do know some people have said to me that they're concerned about having a record article published being out of our hands. And I mean, I can see where we're coming from on that somewhat it is, but I do know that since the record has started publishing online versions of their things, they're doing many more articles than usual. Sometimes they'll publish an article online that they don't necessarily put in the magazine. So, and also Sylvia at the conference office who submits record articles is aware that we're requiring this. So, and I know for a fact right now that they are hunting down people trying to get them to turn in record articles. So I know anything any of us submit would be welcome. And lastly, family communication. And this is about frequency. So social media is encouraged to communicate with families quarterly, 4 times a year for bronze, monthly, silver, and weekly, gold. And as far as weekly, that may sound like a lot, but we're not asking you to write a newsletter every week. This could be just a social media post or a text that you send out on your group text message to all your parents saying, hey, don't forget, there's a meeting this Tuesday at 6 o'clock. Make sure you have X, Y, and Z items ready, especially if you're virtual. You want to make sure you're communicating with your families. And then down at the bottom here is a place for you and your area coordinator to discuss what level that you're going to be awarded and for those signatures. So this paper would definitely be where you want to keep track of things you're accomplishing. Bring this paper with you when you have your yearly assessment with your area coordinator, and also be keeping that binder or folder of things to show evidence of your accomplishments. And that's it for the Path to Excellence. So I am now going to entertain any questions anyone has. And I'll wait for Sean to feed those to me.
Yes.
Sorry, Sean, could you repeat whatever you just said?
Sorry, I was having some difficulty here.
Okay.
One of the questions that I've got is a reference to the fact that I guess you're a adventure director at Bentonville. So what steps are you doing to implement the Path to Excellence?
So I am a brand new adventure director. This is my first year in Bentonville doing that. So this is my first year doing the adventure Path to Excellence. But I have done the Pathfinder one. So literally, I have this paper printed out. I keep a binder. In fact, I have it laying right over on the desk next to me. And I look at it once a month. I check things off as we go. When I'm doing my yearly planning, I have this paper laid out. And I know that I'm more familiar with the Pathfinder one, but I know I need to plan some kind of event where I'm doing something with another club. So I think about, okay, what month can I do that? What could that be? I know I have to attend Adventure Fun Day and Adventure Family Camp. So right now I'm asking myself, are those going to be virtual? Like when is that going to be? I know I need to have my kids doing their class levels. So I'm figuring out what kid is in each class and who can I have helping me teach those things. And I also know that I need to do 12 different awards during the year. So I'm thinking about what is my theme? Like, what kinds of awards am I going to want to do this year? And this year I'm thinking, what kinds of awards can I do easily virtual, because our adventure club is completely virtual. And I know I need to pick 12 of those and do one each month. And our adventure club in Bentonville is just meeting once a month virtually. So we do that. I just pick one for each month, and then I'll know by the end of the year that we've done 12. So that's kind of how I think about it, or how I'm starting to think about the adventure one for this year, since I'm brand new to the adventure side of things.
So here's another one, about things being overwhelming. You know, the fact that this could be just one more thing. How do you kind of like structure things so that it doesn't become too overwhelming?
Sure. So, you know, this is new. We've only had this implemented, I think a whole year. It was implemented all year last year. So this is new, and I get it. New things are hard. I'm a teacher in the public school sector, and every time we get something new, it's like, oh my gosh, one more thing. So I would remind whoever's feeling overwhelmed that, number one, this is to replace the monthly report system. So that's off your plate. And we're not doing monthly reports anymore. So you don't have to worry about filling in that form and getting it on time and how many points you got or whatever every month anymore. You don't have to do that. And in fact, there's not really anything to do monthly anymore. It's just to keep track. And when things are new, they do feel overwhelming. So give yourself some grace and allow yourself the permission to feel a little bit overwhelmed. And just, you know, I think planning on the front end is what's gonna save you. So literally sitting down with this paper when you're planning out your year, or even planning out your first quarter or your first semester of your club meetings, and thinking, what things can I tick off this month? Or what do I need to do over the next 3 months to accomplish 2 of these things, or so forth. And also, I want to remind you that this is a path to excellence. So no one is expecting perfection from anyone here, and no one's trying to trip you up. No one's trying to say you did a bad job. That is not the point of this. The point of this is, you know, it's hard to know what you're supposed to do, and it's hard to do a good job when you don't know what's expected of you. I know for me, if I know what's expected of me, then I'm like, okay, if I know, then I can move forward and work toward that goal. And that's really what we're after here. It's just, this is a goal for you to work toward. And you know, if you get a bronze the first year, then great. You have accomplished a lot of things, and that means you're working with your club, you're active, and you know, you're working toward growth and so forth. So I just want to encourage you, don't feel overwhelmed. This is new, and it's going to take some getting used to. And also, I'll throw out there that, you know, this is a work in progress. This is a brand new thing. So we are open to suggestions, or if something isn't working, we want to know. We don't want this to be something that's like, you have to do it whether it works or not. That's not the point. We want to make this as something workable so that we can achieve excellence and we can further the Pathfinder Adventure ministry in our conference.
So I've got a question from Mike Salzman asking, where do the certificates and the pins for the directors come from?
Good question. So right now, last year, I know Mr. Michael Dunn, our PAC chairman, was in charge of ordering those pins last year. So the area coordinators, I guess, reported back how many pins they needed. And that's what should happen, is the area coordinators should report back to their director. So you adventurers would report back to Monica Ware and let her know, hey, I need X, Y, and Z number of pins. And then the PAC will order those. And the certificates also come from your Pathfinder conference director. They have those, and they'll get those printed out and provided to the area coordinators, who will then provide them to their club directors. And like I said, last time we provided those things at the leadership conference, but I don't know how we'll do that. Maybe mail them or something this year, or for the next couple years.
Here's a question. If you can go to the training course area in the Path to Excellence, please.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's further down.
There it is. Training.
Yeah.
Yeah, right here.
One of the questions that I've got here, since it's saying staff training, they were wondering if like first aid, CPR, lifeguarding, would those certifications or training courses also work to fulfill that?
I would think so. I mean, the point here is just continuing development of your staff. So, you know, the NAD, I guess, whoever puts out all that curriculum, they have those brand new, well, they're kind of brand new staff training courses that you get those little red and black pins for. There's like 8 of them. So you could do that. Or sure, I would think CPR training or lifeguarding would be an awesome way to develop your staff. And once again, you know, the point of this is not to nitpick and have it so rigid that you can't do it. The point is just for us to continue to work toward excellence. And so I would think that those kinds of trainings would be actually absolutely fine. And even self-study about, you know, if there's YouTube videos and things that can be watched, or if a certain director wants to learn how to teach us, or a certain staff member wants to learn how to teach a certain award, and they've spent time studying on a certain skill to teach a certain award that they didn't know before, I would think that would be fine too.
So then one question I have here talks about working with other clubs, and they were just wondering if that has to be another area club, or can that also be where you're getting help from or working with a Pathfinder club, your current, you know?
Oh, sure. Yeah, so it says be involved with another club yearly. So if that was a Pathfinder club, I would think that would be fine. I mean, making that connection between adventurers and Pathfinders, and making sure that when kids get old enough for adventurers, we definitely graduate them up to Pathfinders. That's so important for retention. So doing that, I think, would be fine. Or even, you know, with COVID, we have opened up a world of possibilities with people that we can interact with now via Zoom. So if you wanted to do something with a club that's in Oregon, go for it. I think that would be awesome.
One question I have here deals with recruitment. I think it's there, yes.
In the membership.
Where it talks about the new recruiting plan. How detailed is that? Or can you share your example of what you guys are doing in Bentonville?
Sure. You know, like I said, I don't think anybody's going to nitpick you about your plan not being good enough or whatever. As long as you have a plan, that would be fine. In Bentonville, like I said, I'm new to this adventure thing, but we have asked a neighboring church, a very small neighboring church that we've been kind of working with, to join our virtual adventure meetings. So we've got our own kids from Bentonville, and then about 7 kids from this neighboring church that we're trying to help them kind of build up their adventure program and get that going. So that's kind of what we're doing so far this year. I would think also just publishing that your club is having an adventure meeting to the church on your social media, putting out flyers, or having your club members talk to their friends is also important. We published in Bentonville, we put on our church Facebook page, hey, we're having a virtual adventure club. Anybody want to join? Come on. And we've got 2 kids from Washington that join our virtual meetings. So we have about maybe 5 more minutes. Sean?
Yeah, I've got one last question.
Okay, one last.
Dealing with the virtual stuff. Mm-hmm. Is there any place, sorry, I'm misunderstanding the question. I'm going to scratch that one.
Okay.
I've got so retention for this year with parents to decide if the adventurers are to meet face-to-face mass
Oh.
social distancing.
Yeah.
So what's counting for retention on the annual report if it's so difficult to apply to one level?
Okay, so I think what you're saying is the Adventurer Club has decided to meet face-to-face, and some parents are saying, I'm not bringing my kids because of COVID to face-to-face. Is that what you mean?
Yes, it looks like that, yes.
Okay, so, you know, like I said, this is not about tripping you up or penalizing you. So it's about retaining eligible members. So if you have a parent that's flat out saying, I'm not bringing my kid to face and they're not going to work with you, well, as long as you've made an effort, I mean, we're not going to hold that against you. And, you know, also in our club, we have experienced this a little bit. We had some kids that had to go into quarantine from their school, and we just did a hybrid meeting. So we had face-to-face things going on, but we also had those kids joined us via Zoom on their phones, and they were participating in their classes and in the awards just like they would have if they were there. So there's that option too, if you want to do a hybrid model where you have some kids on the computer and, you know, on Zoom and some kids there in person. That might be a little bit harder with adventures because I know there's a lot of hands-on things that are needed. So it would take a little bit of preparation to get those kids packets and things. But like I said, this is not about penalizing anyone or being like, haha, we got you. It's really, the intent is to work toward excellence, to grow your club and to be active in ministry. So if something like that is not feasible, nobody's gonna say, haha, we got you.
Well, it sounds like we've got all of the questions met, and so I just want to thank you for your time, Audra.
All right, so I do have one last thing I'm gonna put this in the chat box. This is a link to a Google form that if you have any suggestions about the director's packet as a whole or the path to excellence, we would love to hear them. Like I said, this is a living, breathing document. We want it to be usable and we want it to be realistic. So if there's something that you'd like to suggest or that you would like the committee to revisit, please go online to this packet and please put your suggestions in there. And the committee is planning to revisit this document once a year to make changes and to make it more, the best it can be for our conference. So that link is on the screen and it's also in the chat box. So I'm gonna now turn it back over to Mr. Huff. If he has any parting words.
Well, thank you, Audra and Sean, for leading out this evening. I don't have anything more to say. I'm kind of filling in here for Monica. Anybody have comments you want to make? Input? I'm not hearing anything. So if that's all we're doing, I guess we will call the adventure segment of this to a close. And of course, if you do think of other questions, I or Monica are available to try and help. I think everybody knows how to reach us. So feel free to do that. We appreciate you joining this evening. Hope you've learned something. Hope this has helped out. And hope you have a good rest of the evening.
I put my email and my phone number in the chat. If you want to contact me, you're welcome to do so also.
Thank you very much.
And we'll start the Pathfinder portion here just in a little bit.
Roger?
Yes, ma'am.
I have a couple of suggestions, but I'll send them in I'll send them in for to you
Okay, sure.
as having to do with the reports we filled out at each meeting on each child on our forms to give them different points and so forth. We've made a few changes there, so I'll just report those when I get a chance.
Okay, that'd be great. We're always, as Audra mentioned, this is an ongoing thing that we're always looking at ways to make it better. So
Okay, all right.
that's what it takes is people that's doing it coming up with better ideas.
Okay, thanks.
Sure. How are you and the man doing?
We are tired of quarantining, but we are doing it.
Yes, aren't we all?
Yes, I keep praying that God will just sweep this virus away worldwide.
Yes,
Everybody
absolutely.
is so tired of it. Oh.
Absolutely. I go into the office about 3 times a week, and the rest of the time I'm at home and I don't go to church. That sounds terrible, but I don't go to church. I haven't been in a Walmart since March. We don't go out to eat.
Yeah.
Audra teaches, of course, in the public school system, and Beth works for a community clinic system here, and so they're almost afraid to get around me.
Yes,
Fear that I will pick up something from them. So
right.
I'm tired of it.
Yes.
I am tired of it.
I can't even think of any way to take a vacation or anything.
Well, I and Jan we took off. Our wedding anniversary was the 17th of last month, and we took off just for the day. We didn't go. We took our food with us and had a picnic lunch and just took a road trip.
Oh, okay.
And that was the first time we have done anything like that in ages, and it was absolutely fabulous.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
We actually went up into Kansas, and we went into one little store. We went looking for pecans for Christmas gifts.
Yeah.
And we found the little store we had found on the internet. We did go in there with masks in place and hand cleaner in hand, and
right.
we got our Christmas gifts we were looking for and loaded them up and wandered back through the beautiful countryside back to Arkansas from southeast Kansas, and it was a wonderful trip, but it was just for the day.
Yes. When I was a child, my dad always used to take us to Eureka Springs in the fall, and we would buy apple cider on the way home and all of that. So I've been watching the trees, and I've been thinking how nice it would be to go.
We did go to my wife's parents lived just over in the edge of Missouri.
Oh.
At Cassville, Missouri.
Yeah.
And we did go up there Sabbath because they don't get out. They don't go anywhere. He's 89 and Grandma turns 84 tomorrow. And so being at her birthday, we went up there yesterday, and the trip up there was just glorious. The colors were just, it was wonderful. And just to get out of the house for a while, for that matter.
Yeah.
I do have the luxury. I go to the office 3 days a week, but Jan works from home all the time.
Yes.
So, and she says she doesn't mind it, but I do.
I do too. I mind it.
I've got a question.
All right.
Middle of last week, I asked the conference office through Sylvia for a listing of who's registered, and I haven't heard a word back.
Well, Sylvia has been out of the office.
Oh, okay.
Sylvia had some health issues that she was out for about 3 or 4 weeks.
Oh, okay.
I think she is back in the office this week.
Okay.
So give her a little time. You might, reinforce your request, but give her a little time.
I wondered if they were if the office was even running.
Yeah, they're in the office. They are in the office, but she actually was in the hospital in in Dallas for a
Ooh,
period of time.
wow.
Okay.
And
All right.
so-
I can wait on that. The only thing that we've done, we're part of a British car club, and we've been on a couple runs with them. You get 25 British cars, and we go
Oh.
somewhere.
how
And-
neat.
And you know, we're all at least 5 car lengths apart. So
Oh, well, you should be good then. now,
and
but now, Mike, do you put masks on those cars?
there are some people who have masks for their cars.
It's pretty funny.
Okay, very good. Then
We
I
always
think.
we go to outdoor places, and so
Oh yeah.
um,
Yeah.
so it's pretty cool.
Well, it's been. I don't know if you watch any of the clubs on Facebook, but there's been a number that have been doing outdoor activities
Yeah.
that they are really doing well with keeping things going. I've been very pleased that there's quite a number that are really trying hard to keep things going and doing a very good job of it.
Our adventure director wants to start this week face to face, and we've
Okay.
set up the room with school desks,
Okay.
6 feet. 6 feet apart, and not our usual thing.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
usually we meet like at a conference table or something for the different classes. But she's anxious to start, and I'm hoping that she will. So
Good.
that
Good.
may be
Well,
on tap this week.
let us know, and like I say, I'm kind of filling in here for Monica, but let us know how that goes. It'll be
Okay.
interesting to see how it works.
Yeah. Well, we thought since they are having classes at church, they're having children's classes at church.
Oh, are they? Okay.
Yes, that we
Not
would-
everybody is doing that yet.
Right, right. We noticed on the run that we did with the British Car Club last week that lots of churches are just not open, period.
Yeah.
We went on a Sunday morning, and we passed many churches that had no cars at all
Yeah.
in front. So it's not unusual to have,
It was rather cute a couple of months ago. Jan and I were out on a Sunday morning doing something, and we went by a small country church, and they were all out in the parking lot with their chairs,
okay.
sitting in a couple of circles, spaced apart, and it appeared as though the pastor or something was in kind of the center of that, and they were having church, and he was teaching or preaching or something, and they were carrying on. But it was just, I would have liked to have had a picture of it. It was rather cute. They
That's
were
cool.
doing their thing, but they were
Yes.
doing it right.
Yes, yes.
And
Well-
and the numbers up in this area, I don't know what it is like for you guys down there, but the numbers up here are just phenomenal. They're just going out the kazoo.
I know they keep being very high here.
Well, they are here. Benton County had the highest in the state on Friday.
Oh,
They had
boy.
100 and some new cases.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and
Wow.
I just saw something on the news that there were 33 deaths over the weekend in the
Oh,
statewide.
Could be.
So yeah, it's not good.
No, it's not good. It's
But
not.
maybe I have hopes that maybe after this week something will begin to get better because the election is going to be over.
Oh, yes.
I am so tired of that too. So
I'm tired of that. I'm tired of the Boy Scouts
oh yes,
getting people
we
to
just-
report for that. And
we just saw something on the TV this afternoon for a bit about the Boy Scout thing, and it's just they're
disgusting.
just trying to make money off of
yeah.
the situation.
They are. And that and mesothelioma.
Oh yes, there's always that.
Ooh,
That,
gosh.
that and Medicare ads.
Yeah, Medicare ads also.
Oh well, yeah. I'm not quite there yet, but
That's good. That's good.
it's coming all way too fast.
Well, whether you're there yet or not, it's on TV.
Oh
Yeah.
yes, it is.
They get
Yes.
5 different companies in a row trying to sell you a Medicare plan.
Well, I keep getting, actually, I don't turn 65 until May, but I've gotten emails and some letters and a few
Oh, yeah.
phone calls from people wanting to talk about my eligibility for Medicare.
Sure, of course.
So,
Can't be left alone.
oh, yes. And Jan sets over to the side and tells me that she's not old enough for that. I tell her just to enjoy, it's coming.
Right.
We don't have that problem
No,
here.
we don't have that problem here. Oh, dear.
Well, I see a
Okay.
couple of 3 people have popped up. I see a Debbie Decker there.
Well, that's good. Oh, it's getting close to time.
It's getting close.
Well, nice talking to you, Roger.
Well, you too. I've enjoyed it. Yes. And hang in there. This hopefully will pass.
Oh, sooner the better.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh. I will tell you one thing I read about Martin Luther. He was dealing with the bubonic plague,
Oh,
and he said, I will not put myself in a position to be exposed to this illness because that's not God's plan for me.
really?
But if a friend calls me and says they need help, I will go and see them because that is God's plan for me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I was reading something yesterday. It came out in the Rogers paper, Rogers, Arkansas paper in 1918, talking about what was happening in Northwest Arkansas with the Spanish flu epidemic.
Yeah.
And my word, it sounded like it was what was going on right now.
It was.
I'm sure.
I mean,
Very similar.
and it was very similar. I grew up around a grandmother who started her nursing career during that.
Whoa.
And yeah, it was, from the stories she used to tell, it was very much. But
That's-
people don't
that's what it was
realize
pretty bad.
that we've gone through this before. We've been there and done that.
Oh. Anyway, well, I'll turn you over to Michael.
Well, good talking to you guys.
Talking to you.
How's Debbie Decker? You're muted there, Debbie. I can see you talking, but I can't hear you.
There nope,
There you
nope.
go.
Every time I hit it, didn't do anything.
Yeah, how are you, Debbie?
We're doing fine. We had our last meeting a couple of Sabbaths ago.
Oh,
And-
really?
Oh, yeah. It worked real good because I had Stasha.
Ah, good,
My tech's are.
good, good. I trust that you've had as beautiful a day in South Louisiana as we have had in Northwest Arkansas.
We have.
Good.
Yeah, we have. I mean, the storm passed. You know, we had some rain and stuff, but no outages, no problems. And after that, it's been really pretty. Nice and cool.
Oh, it's going to be down to 30 again here tonight. Jan has taken pity on some of her flowers outside and moved them inside. So it's quite cool here.
That's good. I have something that popped up. It said low system resources may affect your audio quality. Try closing some applications.
Okay, that's something on your computer or your internet access, one or the other.
Well, the only thing I had open was Explorer to get in. To my
Well,
email.
it's probably just internet access has got a lag in it,
Okay.
but you still should be able to hear all right.
Yeah, I'm doing okay. I just hit the splash. I'll just keep closing the box.
Turn the
All
light
right.
on so I can see you
All right.
better.
What's that?
Have her turn the light on so we can see her better.
Yeah, we can't hardly see.
I have my overhead on, and I have 2 lamps on. It's just that they're ahead of me.
They're not in the right direction.
Yeah,
Yeah, mine's not really in the right direction either, but oh well.
it's my setup. I got the laptop right here.
I see Danita Mullins has joined. Hi, Danita.
Hi, Roger. How are you?
Doing okay, doing okay.
Good.
Glad you could join us tonight. And there's
There-
Francis.
There's Francis from Batesville.
We'll wait for a few more people here to maybe jump on. Almost time. Maybe everybody's getting used to the new time change. Oh,
We'll have a
No,
bit of
no.
I wish they would leave it one way and be done with it.
Yeah, me too.
There's Stacy. There's somebody popping up. Well, according to my clock, it's 7 o'clock. We'll give 2 or 3 more minutes here to see if anybody else joins. I'll wait just a bit longer. There's someone from Little Rock, it looks like. There's Helen. If you just joined us, we're waiting for just a couple of minutes to give anybody else a chance to join in. Good evening, Helen. Well, I have 4 minutes after, so we're going to go ahead and get started. We're glad you could join us this evening and hope you will get some information from our little training session here. We've had several questions about Path to Excellence, so hopefully this will help out with some of the questions that's been coming up. So Audrey will be leading in the training tonight, and I'm going to we're going to start out here with prayer, and then Audra will take it from there. So let's bow our heads, everyone, and we will ask for his guidance and direction, and then Audra will go from there. So let's bow our heads. Father, we thank you for the ability to be able to join together even though we're miles apart. And we ask that this evening as we learn, that you will guide and direct everything that's done. and everything that is said, and we ask for your blessing on what we do. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, Audra, it's all yours.
Thanks. So I will spare introducing myself since I think you all know me, but I'm Audra. And I have my husband Sean on here with me tonight, and he is going to be monitoring the chat for me. So if you have any questions as we go along this evening, will you please just type those into the chat at any time. And he will be compiling those for me, and at the end I'll answer all your questions at once. So anytime you think of anything, just pop it in the chat and we'll make a list of those for the end. So it would be helpful if you had a copy of the director's packet in front of you. If you don't already, you can get it at this link, which I've put in the chat box. It's at the ArkLa Youth website under the Pathfinder tab. You can download it at any time there. But here's a link, Pathfinder, tinyurl.com/Pathfinder Director's Packet. So make sure you have that with you. And we are going to be turning to page 25, and it will be a page that looks like this, except this is the adventure one, but it kind of looks the same. So there's 3 pages to the Path to Excellence. The first page is just the information, like the how-to page. And then the 2 pages after that are the actual rubric for the Path to Excellence. So it's page 25, 26, and 27. So we're just gonna take a minute here and kind of give you an overview of what the purpose of this is and the scoring and the insignia. So the Path to Excellence was designed to help club directors strive for excellence in their Pathfinder and Adventurer ministry. And it was developed by a committee and the PAC. So some of the PAC members formed a committee and developed this for our conference. So this is not NAD-wide. This is just something we do in the Arkansas-Louisiana Conference. And it was intended to replace the old monthly reporting system. So we don't have the monthly report anymore. Now we have this instead. And I want you to keep in mind as we're talking tonight that this is a path to excellence. So it's like a path that you walk along and you get farther as you go. So achieving high levels may feel difficult at first. So here's some things that you as a club director should do when preparing for your Path to Excellence. You should review the rubric often. So I highly recommend that you print out page 26 and 27 of the director's packet and have that where you can mark things off as you go. So, you know, look at that monthly, keep it in a binder or a folder, and when you've accomplished something, mark it off. And then in your binder or folder, you can keep papers or lists or pieces of evidence to support your accomplishments. You'll schedule a yearly assessment with your area coordinator to determine what level that you'll be awarded for your Path to Excellence. And when you come to that meeting, that yearly assessment meeting, which should be late spring, early summer, kind of toward the end of our Pathfinder year, you'll bring your binder with your evidence and you'll bring your rubric where you've marked things off and said, I think I need this level based on this binder of evidence that I have. Now, if a binder isn't your thing, that's fine. Me personally, I keep a file on my computer of all my things. So that works totally fine too. You do you, but just make sure you have some kind of evidence or list or something to back up what you've achieved. And remember, we want you to maintain your integrity as you decide what level of accomplishment that you've achieved. So the Path to Excellence is designed in different chunks. So I've color-coded it here to kind of help you understand a little better. So the whole Path to Excellence accountability rubric, that's the name of the whole thing, the accountability rubric. And so you can see that outlined in blue on your screen, the whole thing. So when you hear us talk about the Path to Excellence accountability rubric, that is this, the whole program. The rubric is broken down into categories and indicators. So the categories are designed around the core aspects of the Pathfinder program that pertain to the club director. So the categories are these red parts. So planning and finance, membership, programming. I think this picture is actually the adventure one, but the Pathfinder one is very similar. And then the indicators are the yellow parts. So the different pieces inside each category, those are the indicators. So when you when you hear me talking about those words, categories and indicators, this is what I'm talking about. The categories are the big chunks and the indicators are the smaller pieces within the big chunks. So scoring is done yearly. And like I said, together with your area coordinator, you'll decide what level you deserve for each indicator in each category. And you should once again come prepared with evidence to back up. If you think you get bronze or gold for a certain category, come ready to prove or have evidence of that. So for each indicator, you'll get a silver, a bronze, a silver, or a gold for each specific indicator. And no exemptions should be made on this unless, I actually think there is an exemption in the Pathfinder category, but it's very specific and we'll talk about that in a second. And then as far as awarding, your final award level will be determined by your area coordinator. So your area coordinator gets the final say on whether you get gold, silver, or bronze. To get a gold, you have to have all indicators except 2 scored at gold. For silver, you have to have all indicators except 2 scored at silver or above. And for bronze, you have to have all indicators except 2 scored at bronze or above. Now, the reason for that except 2 is because, you know, the purpose of the Path to Excellence is to help you work toward excellence. It's to make sure that that you're active in your club ministry and that you're working, you know, to further that in your church. And so we're kind of giving you a pass on 2. We don't expect you to do everything all the time or to be perfect all the time. So you get a pass on 2, any 2 that you want, that it's just not feasible for you or it's not realistic for your club. You get to choose which 2 don't work for you. And you can still achieve those high levels. So for your insignia, you will receive a circular lapel pin that's either bronze colored, silver colored, or gold colored, and it will be engraved with the year. And you'll wear that on your dress uniform lapel for the year that you were awarded. So for example, for this year, you would get your Path to Excellence in your award in August, September 2021. So you would wear that for the 2021-2022 year. When that's over, then you take that lapel pin off and move it to your sash with the idea that you're getting a new pin with the new year on it to replace that with whatever your award level is for that year. And you also get a certificate, and you can see an example of it here on the screen. This is the gold level certificate. And somebody in the adventure meeting asked a good question about where do these pins and these certificates come from? Well, they should come from your area coordinator, and the area coordinator will get them from the conference director. So how it worked last year was the area coordinators all said to the conference director, we need X, Y, and Z number of pins. And then Mr. Michael Dunn was in charge of ordering those. He's our PAC chairman, and he ordered those. And then they got given to the area coordinators, and the area coordinators awarded those pins at the leadership training conference we have in September at Camp Yorktown Bay. The certificates are also, our conference director has those, and they'll get those printed and given to the area coordinators. Now this year, you know, who knows if we'll have face-to-face things, so those might come to you in the mail instead. But normally, under normal circumstances, you would be recognized in front of the entire conference at the leadership training in September. That's where you'd be officially recognized for your previous year. Okay, so now we're going to look at the specific indicators. So in your director's packet, this would be a good time to be looking at that. On page 26 is where it starts. So this is the actual accountability rubric. And let me zoom in here so you can see a little better. We're just going to look at each one and just kind of briefly talk about what each one means. So if you have any specific questions about any of these, make sure you put those in the chat box for the end. The first category is planning and finance, and the indicators are planning and finance. So for planning, to get a bronze, you have to complete the yearly planning form. Now, the yearly planning form is on page 30 in your director's packet. So if you want to make a note of that. Now, you do not have to use this planning form on page 30 if that's not your speed and you'd rather type it on the computer, or you'd rather write it on notebook paper or put it on a sticky note. Well, I don't know. Whatever you like to do, that's fine. These forms in the director's packet are not mandated to you. They're there to help you if that works for you. So if you need one, it's on page 30. But if you have a different system that you like better, that's fine too. To get a bronze, you have to, in addition to completing the form, you have to meet biannually to review your programming with your staff and include your TLTs if you have any. And then gold would be that you meet quarterly, so 4 times a year. And then for finance, it's similar. You have to complete the yearly budget form, which is also part of that planning form on page 30. It includes the budget. So it's just one form. We'll kill 2 birds there. And then it's the same thing, meet biannually, meet quarterly, and include your TLTs. So you don't have to have separate meetings for planning and finance. It can be one meeting where you discuss the planning and the finance at the same meeting. So you don't make this difficult for yourself. And it could be, it doesn't have to be face-to-face. You could have it via Zoom. You could have it on a phone call, whatever you need to do. So your evidence would be in your binder. Here's my planning form, whatever it is, and then maybe a list. We had our meetings on this date, this date, this date, and this date, and for here you need to include that X, Y, and Z TLTs came to the meeting. Okay, the next category is membership, and there's 3 indicators here. The first one is recruiting. So for bronze, you have to have a plan to recruit new members. So this should be a written plan. And it doesn't have to be rocket science. I mean, plans could be, I'm giving out these flyers. I'm posting on social media that our club is starting. I'm having kids talk to their friends. I'm getting up front in church and saying, join Pathfinders. You know, whatever your plan is to recruit new people, as long as you have one. And then bronze is to increase membership by 5%, and silver or gold is to increase it by 10%. Okay, so if you had 10 kids the previous year, increasing 5% would be half a kid, and increasing 10% would be 1 kid. Now, please don't cut any kids up, okay? The point of this is not to be like, haha, you didn't have enough kids. The point is that you're growing your club. So, you know, we're talking like a kid or 2 if you have a 0.5. So just, the point is to grow your club, not to cut kids up. Okay, retention is next, and that is to retain 75% of last year's eligible members, and then the percentage increases when you go up in level. Now, some people get hung up on, what if kids move away, or what if they're too old now? And the key here is to retain 75% of last year's eligible members. If a kid moves away, they're not eligible anymore. If a kid turns 18, they're too old. They're not eligible anymore. Now, hopefully you've been mentoring that 18-year-old and now they're staff in your club. But the key here is you want to retain your eligible members. There are some things that are out of our control and kids aren't eligible anymore. Once again, don't cut any kids up. We're talking a ballpark 75, 80, 90% retention. The next indicator is adventurer transition, and this is the only exception. This does not count against you if you don't have an adventurer club at your church. Okay, so if you don't have an adventurer club at your church, you can just ignore this. This does not count as one of your 2 that you get to not do. If you do have an adventurer club at your church, however, to get a bronze, you have to hold 1 joint activity with the adventurer club. And to get silver, in addition to that, you have to register and retain 50% of all eligible adventurers. That means the kids that are aging out of adventurers and coming to Pathfinders, you should retain 50% of them. So if you had 2 kids that aged out of adventurers and now they're ready for Pathfinders, you should get at least 1 of them to register and with the Pathfinder Club. And then for gold, it's 75%. Okay, the next category is programming. First, investiture achievement. So for bronze, each member participates in their class level. So we're talking friend, companion, explorer, ranger, voyager, guide stuff. And so for this one, it's just that they participate in their class level. To go up for bronze, they have to complete, 75% have to complete their class level. That means they're eligible to get the little patch and chevron thingy. And then for gold, they 75% have to complete the class level and do the optional portions. So you know, on investor achievement, there's the parts that you have to do to get the friend, and then there's the optional parts that if you do them, you get the trail friend, and then you get that special little bar. That's what we're talking about there. That 75% did everything, got the little extra bar. So for camping, it's just 1 camp out, 2 camp outs, 3 camp outs. And keep in mind that don't make this difficult on yourself. If you can stack some of these indicators, do so. So if you're doing a camp out and you want to invite the adventurers also to your camp out, well then count that as a camp out and also count that as holding one joint activity with the adventure club. Okay, the next indicator is honors. So it's 4 different honor classes are offered through the year, 6 and 8. So for bronze, 6 different honor classes, that's like one every 2 months. And also keep in mind, you know, there's honors as part of investiture achievement. So if an investiture achievement class is working on an honor, then count that toward your honors. It doesn't have to be separate honors all by themselves. Or if you're going to an honors festival or the kids are doing a virtual honor, count that too. Outdoor nature activities scheduled yearly, biannually, or quarterly for gold. And once again, if you're going on a camp out, that's an outdoor nature activity to me. So count that. Stack things up if you can to make them easier, make this easier for yourself. Service is participating, so this is frequency, 4 service projects a year, 6 or 8 for gold. And this should benefit local church and the community. So, and once again, if you're doing if you went on a conference camporee and they did a service project there, then count that as one of your service projects. Next, we have local church involvement, participating twice a year in church, quarterly in church, or monthly in the church service. And this doesn't mean you have to be leading the whole service and preaching or anything. This could be taking up offering, or being a greeter, or saying the prayer, or telling the children's story, or helping in the sound booth, you know, any of those types of things. And the last part in this, the last indicator in this category is support other clubs. So be involved yearly with another club, biannually, or quarterly with another club. So this could be with an adventure club. This could be another club in the conference. You know, we have with Zoom Rising, you can be involved with pretty much anyone. If you have a friend who lives in Washington and they have a Pathfinder club and you guys can get on Zoom together, that would be awesome. So anything like that. The next category is staff, and the indicators are supervision and training. The supervision indicator comes from Adventist Risk Management. And Adventist Risk Management recommends that we have a ratio of 1 to 4. So 1 staff member for every 4 kids with both genders represented. That's the ideal. And then bronze is 1 to 5, or silver is 1 to 5, bronze is 1 to 6 with both genders represented. Now, once again, we're not trying to cut people up, or saying, haha, you don't have enough staff. That's not the point. The point is that you have enough staff for the kids that you have, that you're recruiting new staff if you need them, and that you have both genders represented. This is especially important for Pathfinders because, you know, we don't really necessarily encourage parental involvement in Pathfinders like they do in Adventurers. So you really need that staff, and you've got to have both genders represented, especially unless you have a club of all boys, then maybe you only need men, but that probably doesn't happen. For training, bronze is 75% have completed a staff training course, And then silver is 2 staff training courses, and gold is 2 staff training courses and their master guides. Now, this doesn't have to be formal staff training courses. It doesn't have to be stuff that's provided by the conference or anything. This could be staff training that you do for your own staff. This could be self-directed study. You know, there's a lot of staff training courses out on YouTube now that can be watched. There's that new series of staff training courses that's put out by NAD with those little lapel pins that are black and red. There's like, I think 8 of those. It could be that. It could be that your staff gets CPR trained, or, you know, something like that. The point is that your staff is working to develop their skills, and that you're keeping track of that. Okay, the last category is accountability. And the first one is risk management. And this is a non-negotiable. You have to do this in order to attain a medal at any level. The committee that wrote this felt very strongly about this, that we have to protect our kids and our staff this day and age. So in order to get a medal at any level, you have to all your staff complete their verified volunteer paperwork. They have to do their volunteer staff form, which is on page 5 in your director's packet. And they also have to have their car insurance on file as applicable. So this cannot be one of those 2 that you get a pass on. This is all or nothing. If you don't have that one, you don't get anything. So that's how important the PAC felt about that. And club registration, again, is also a non-negotiable. You have to do this to do a medal at any level. Your yearly application form and all the attachments have to be submitted to the conference. And that is on page 3 in your director's packet. So that means that it's been voted by your church board. You have all those signatures. That paper is sent in. All your staff applications have been sent in, and you've paid your $10 per person fee to the conference. Next, we have inspection. And inspection is talking about the club annual review, which is on page 22 of your director's packet. Now, some people have gotten confused about the difference between the annual review and the Path to Excellence, and here it is. The annual review is what we used to call formal inspection. And that's when the area coordinator comes to your club and all your kids are dressed up in their dress uniforms, looking sharp, and they show off everything they've done all year. That's the annual review. The annual review is reviewing and assessing the club as a whole. The Path to Excellence assesses only the club director. This is only about you, the club director, and that's this. The annual review and the Path to Excellence are 2 completely separate things. And the annual review is on page 22 in your director's packet. So and the annual review is scored similarly. You can get a bronze, silver, or gold in your annual review. So if your club gets a bronze annual review, then you get a bronze here on Path to Excellence. If they get a gold in their annual review, the club, then you get a gold here for annual review. Okay, next is record articles. Bronze is that you submitted one. Silver is that you submitted more than one, and gold is that it was published. Now, I do know that the Record is publishing more articles than they ever have before, because the Record now has an online version. And they publish articles there that they don't necessarily publish into the magazine. So we have more opportunity to be published these days. I also know that, especially right now, they are scrambling to get people to submit articles to the Record. So the odds are higher of getting published. And it's every 2 months. So you have 6 opportunities a year to be published into the Record. And lastly, we have family communication, where social media usage is encouraged. Bronze is communicating quarterly, and then monthly, and then weekly for gold. Now, nobody's expecting you to write a newsletter every week. We're talking like post on social media, or a group text message saying, hey, don't forget, there's a meeting this Tuesday at 5:30. please make sure you bring X, Y, and Z materials, or here's the Zoom link for our virtual meeting, or, you know, whatever, just as long as you're staying in touch with your families weekly and then monthly and then quarterly. And then at the bottom of this form is a place for the area coordinator and you as the director to sign and decide what level you will be awarded. So that is Path to Excellence, all the categories and all the indicators. And at this point, I am now going to turn it over to Sean and ask him what kind of questions we have, and I'll do my best to answer them for you.
So I've got a question here on Path to Excellence that talks about the exception that you
I'm
were
sorry,
talking
Sean.
about.
My speaker turned off. Could you repeat what you just said?
Yes, there was a question about the except two in each of the on the Path to Excellence. There was a question about, is that for the whole rubric or is that for each category?
The whole rubric. So 2 overall. So let's say you did no camping at all. So that could be one of your 2. And you did not hold a joint activity with your adventurer club. That could be the other one.
So the next question, since you're talking about camping, there's COVID restrictions. How do we really do a camp out?
Sure. So we totally understand COVID restrictions. So I was telling the adventure folks earlier, like one of the adventure requirements is that they have to attend Adventure Fun Day. Well, there isn't an Adventure Fun Day. So we're not going to penalize you for that. So it's like that just indicator doesn't exist right now. So if you honestly feel like camping is not safe for your club, then this year we're going to just pretend like the camping indicator doesn't exist. Now I know clubs have been camping and they're perfectly comfortable with going. That's great. That's going to count for them because they're doing that. In my club, I'm not comfortable camping with my kids. So it's going to be like that indicator doesn't exist. So that would not count as one of your 2.
And Audra,
I was trying to see if there was other ones that, go ahead.
I would add in here to reinforce what you're saying. There have been several clubs that are on the smaller side that have done camping outreach, and it has been very successful and safe. It's easier to do with a smaller club than it is with a larger club, especially when you think of tents and that kind of thing, having kids together. It's easier to do with a smaller club. But if you're not safe, if you don't feel safe with doing it, then it's not an issue.
Don't do it, and that's not going to count against you this year. Next question.
Yes. Here's a question. It's more on the process of getting the pins. And since they asked that they've already been rated for the 2019-2020 year, and they've got a rating of silver, but who do they follow up with to get the pin?
Your area coordinator. So if you, I'm guessing you've been rated by your area coordinator. And so then your area coordinator knows that you need a silver pin. So your area coordinator should then pass that along to the conference director. That's how that chain of command should work. Now I don't want to throw anybody under the bus here. That's not the point. So this is new and we're still trying to get used to the chain of command of how this works and ordering the pins and so forth. So if there's some kind of hiccup there, apologies, but please be gracious because this is a new process for the PAC.
The pins for last year have been ordered, but because of the slowdown in manufacture, they have been delayed in processing the order. So
I think they came from China.
China.
We haven't done the certificates until we get the pins. So it's in the works and it will come. It's just like everything else that we're dealing with, it's slowed down.
So congratulations on to whoever that is that got silver. And sorry, there's a bit of a hiccup there.
Here, this question is a point of clarification. When you were talking about other clubs, you know, the area coordinating with other clubs, they just wanted to reiterate, you mentioned Adventure Club as a possible other club. Can you elaborate on that?
So I'm guessing we're going with support other clubs, be involved with another club yearly. So are they asking, can it be an adventure club? And I would say yes. It's adventure or Pathfinder club. So yes, that would work. Could be virtually. Could be that you do an outdoor activity together. Our club has been doing a lot of outdoor things, so.
Can you just elaborate on what you guys do with your adventure club at Bentonville?
As far as being involved with other clubs?
Yeah, I guess maybe that's kind of what I was, as an example.
Well, I just took over. I'm now an adventure director too. Anyway, so we do a virtual adventure club once a month, and we have 5 kids from our own church, and we posted on our church Facebook page that we're having this adventure virtual club, and if you want to join, let us know. And somehow I had some folks from Washington that saw it, so I have 2 kids from Washington that join us. And then our Pathfinder Club has also been working with a small church nearby that's trying to get an adventure club started. So we have about 7 kids from that church that join our virtual meeting also. They actually go to that small church, and they have a big TV on the wall that they put us up there. So their kids are together in person, but they get on our virtual club, and we give out packets to do that. So that's what we do. I guess somebody wanted to know.
Who does that club meeting? You might elaborate on that.
Oh, my Pathfinders do that adventure club meeting. So my Pathfinders run the virtual adventure meeting lock, stock, and barrel. I give them the direction about what to do, and they do everything, all the leading out. So anyway, next question.
Here's a question that asks about how do you prove, let me look at it again. How do you prove that you did the 2019 to 2020 achievements? I think it's more about the process
Okay, so
of how things are done.
yeah, and so the 2019-2020 year has passed. So you should already have done your assessment with your area coordinator, and if you haven't, that window may have closed. So now we're on to the 2020-2021 year. So you should be keeping a binder or a notebook or something, and or you could even be like, here's a picture of the camp out we went on, or here's a screenshot of all of our group on Zoom doing the baking honor, you know, when you're trying to show, or even here's a list of the 8 honors I earned this year and how many kids got each one or something. I mean, it doesn't have to be super detailed, just enough to where, you know, we know that you're being honest and really did what you say you're doing.
Audra, let me address that just a little bit, if I could,
Go
about
ahead.
the 2019, 2020
Oh, okay.
thing. Because of the upheaval of the COVID thing and the not being able to do regular meetings and so on and so forth, if there's a club out there that would like to do their yearly assessment for 2019, 2020, I would suggest they contact their area coordinator and see if they can work something out to go ahead and get that for last year because of all the hardships that everyone has gone through. We'll go ahead and honor that last year, even though it's basically past. If you've got the material to support what you've done and to document what you've done, then by all means, contact your area coordinator. Have them, if they question it, have them contact me, and we would go ahead and do that.
Awesome.
I agree.
Perfect.
So here's a comment more than a question that they were mentioning how some of the clubs are being innovative, where they're taking an opportunity to do the camping exercises from their own house and allowing them to do, I guess, camping in their own either backyard or in the house. And I guess they just wanted to elaborate on how we can think outside the box. So
Yeah,
I
that's
just
awesome. And once again, I want you to keep in mind, the purpose of the Path to Excellence is to show that you're active in your Pathfinder ministry and you're working toward growing your club and furthering your Pathfinder ministry. So this is not about your area coordinator saying to you, haha, I caught you, you didn't do this, or you didn't have enough of this, or what. We are making allowances for different COVID things. So if you're having campouts virtually, then I would say that counts. So
Go for it.
yeah, please know that the purpose of this is not to trip you up or make this difficult. We want you to just be working to further the Pathfinder ministry and be active with your club. And it's going to take some outside of the box thinking to do that right now.
The only thing I would say about doing online campouts, let your area coordinator know, let the conference Pathfinder director know. We would love to pop into those campouts for 10 minutes and just say hello to everyone and see what's going on and hear about what you're doing and those kind of things. Don't keep it as a well-hidden secret. Let us know. Let your area coordinators know. We'd love to know what's going on. Say hi to your kids, so forth. That's awesome if you're doing those kind of things.
So it's an interesting thing. Going back to what you mentioned about how you can double up on some of these categories to count them to help you move forward. You mentioned the one about I guess it's the social media. Can you bring that up for everyone to see?
Family communication right here.
This person mentioned or was talking about how they wanted to use I guess their social media feed as their accountability record. And they just were trying to follow up and see if that's a possibility.
So like, instead of having a binder, you're like, here's what I did on Facebook and here's this thing I did on Facebook. I'm guessing like that?
Yeah. And then they could just scroll
Absolutely.
through
Yeah.
that feed when they talk to the area coordinator.
Yeah, the last time I did my personal Path to Excellence for my club. That's pretty much what I did. I was like, here's this post where we did this, and here's this post where we did this. That's totally fine. Social media is a great record keeping way to show what you did. Absolutely, I think that's very innovative.
One of the follow-up questions to that, do you recommend that they print the posts out so that they have that in the binder when they talk to them, or is it okay to just go ahead and use that feed?
You do not have to print all that out. I'm sure right now you may not be even meeting with your area coordinator face-to-face for your yearly assessment. It may be that you use a Zoom meeting. And if that's the case, Zoom has a screen share feature where you can just pull up your Facebook and show we did this, this, and this. Now, if it's your speed to print things out and you'd rather have it printed in a binder, go for it. But the purpose of this is not to make more work for you or to trip you up or make your life miserable. So if you can just bring your phone or your tablet to your meeting and show the different things, then go for it. I think that's great. We have a few more minutes. Is there any other questions?
I guess one question deals specifically with the service projects. They were wondering if you had some suggestions or possible service type of items that you would like to share, either from your own club as an example, or, you know, just like some
COVID
general
appropriate
idea.
ones?
A little bit of both. Just examples, please.
Well, I mean, service is kind of hard during COVID. What my club has been doing is letter writing. So we have a list from our church clerk of elderly members or members, you know, who really aren't getting out right now. And so we've been writing letters to those. Our club has also been doing everything outdoors. So we took over the landscaping at our church. And once a month, we take care of all the flower beds and the trimming and everything, not the lawn mowing, but like hedge trimming and things like that outdoors where it's safer. Also, we're fixing to do a really cool service project from King Arthur Flour, like the bread flour company that, you know, like bread, wheat flour. King Arthur Flour Bake for Good. I highly recommend you go look that up. It's really cool. Basically, they provide you with all the materials you need to bake bread, and then the kids bake bread, one loaf for themselves and one loaf to give away. I'm actually going to put that in the chat right now. King Arthur Flour Bake for Good. You just Google that and take a look at it. It's pretty cool.
Audra, if I can make a comment here again.
Mhm.
You mentioned the letter writing thing.
Mm-hmm.
This is a very well accepted thing from older folks. Where I work, we deal with senior citizen health. We have been working with several church youth groups in getting them to write letters to folks in nursing homes and assisted living facilities. We've been even working with some daycares, getting them to do art projects that we send to nursing homes and assisted living facilities. And the response from these older people, the senior citizens, has just been overwhelming. So I would highly suggest that if you're looking for something that is COVID safe, doing letter writing to folks in your church, or even not in your church, but doing letter writing to senior citizens would be readily accepted.
All right, I've put my email and my phone number into the chat. So if you have any further questions you'd like to ask, you can definitely contact me there. And we just have a couple minutes. So Sean, maybe if there's one last question and then we'll wrap it up.
I was just thinking if we could, I guess there's a few suggestions on the service projects. One of them, I mean, you mentioned earlier where the Pathfinders are actually running a virtual adventure club. Then if you look in the chat, can you just go ahead and mention the other two ideas that are there from iPhone?
So somebody said picking up trash on the city streets, making a banner for a nursing home, along with snacks for the people who were affected by the virus, or supporting law enforcement with every month with a gift, or wrapping Christmas presents for needy children. All of those are awesome ideas.
I think with that said, we'll just go ahead and close the questions for now.
Thank you. All right, so once again, my email and phone number are both there, or you could contact the conference director if you have other further questions. Lastly, I want to leave you with this. Our director's packet is meant to be a living, working, breathing document. It's not set in stone and rigid. We want it to be usable for everyone. And that includes the path to excellence. It is not set in stone. We intend, the committee that wrote it intends to visit once a year to look at, what do we need to change? What do we need to do to improve this and make it more realistic and more user-friendly? And we're collecting all suggestions via this link. So if you have a suggestion about the path to excellence, something you feel like needs to change or that could be made better, or any part of the director's packet that could be changed or made better, would you please go to that link and put in your suggestions, and we'll review those yearly. And we really do appreciate folks that give us those suggestions, because sometimes you can sit in a committee meeting and say, oh, this would be great. But then when you actually put it out there in real life where people are doing it, it's not so great. So please do give us your real life suggestions so that we can make it the best that it can be for our conference. And I'll turn
All
it back
right.
over to, yes, go ahead.
All right, I think that pretty much winds things down unless anyone has a comment they'd like to include. I will be staying online for a few minutes. If you need to visit with me about anything, you have a captive audience, so to speak. I'll be available here for a few minutes if you have anything. Otherwise, I think that brings our evening to a close. Hopefully this has been helpful. I believe this was recorded. So if you would like to have a copy of that recording, let us know and we can get that you can refer back to. And I guess that winds things down. So thank you for joining. Hopefully this has been helpful. If you need anything Pathfinder wise, you know how to reach me. I'm available.